I have one final question for you. What advice do you have for any aspiring writer, artist, future Filip Sablik that wants to break into comics?
I think I'd boil it down to two things. One is be humble, and the other is be patient. And I think if you can be those two things, you can break into comics. And so if you're trying to break into the creative side, one of the things I used to do when I did portfolio reviews is aspiring artists would come up, they'd show me their portfolio, and I would typically start by asking them, well, like, what, how long have you been working on this? And they would, give me an answer. Typically it's like, I've been at this for like a year or two, and now I'm going to start going around the convention showing my portfolio. I would ask them if they have a full-time job or if they were in school. Typically they were. And then I would ask them, well, how many hours are you actually putting in a week? And most people would max out at about 20 hours, because if you're putting 40 hours into something else, you got to sleep sometime.
Of course.
And then I would hit them with the bucket of cold water, which was, okay, you will be proficient at penciling or inking or writing in about 10 years. And if that scared them, if that intimidated them, if that depressed them, I would tell them, you need to think about this, because if that is the thing that turns you off and makes you not want to do this, you really should not pursue this. Because if you look at the careers of really successful people in this industry, it's not hard and fast, but typically, guys like Brian Michael Bendis, Ed Brubaker,
Jim Lee,
all these guys worked either on smaller projects or toiled away in the indies or honed their craft in another medium or went to art school. And like, school can be part of that. You spend 4 years in school learning how to be a writer or an artist. Well, great. You've put in a decent amount of time into that. And the be humble part of it is like, understand that there are people that break into the industry and do it at Marvel and DC, or do it on a high profile project, or their first thing really hits. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's the exception, not the rule.
Right.
The rule is you usually work for 10 years and no one knows your name until all of a sudden you work on this one project that gets a little bit of traction, and the next project gets more, and then after that you're out in the big book.
Yeah, absolutely. And because it takes time to hone your craft, typically. And on the business side, it's the same thing. It's like, take the job as an intern, take the job in the mailroom, customer service, helping out, volunteering at conventions. Right now we have we do a fair amount of conventions. Some of them are pretty sizable, and so we have folks that come and help us out at those shows. One of whom just got hired as an assistant editor, and she had worked in retail before that at a comic shop, right? So it's like, work at a comic shop, get your foot in the door,
however you can,
and then be humble and be patient about what that next step is going to be. Because if you have a good work ethic and you can communicate well, and you have good ideas, you are going to be able to eventually
break through
and move up.
And there's a lot of people who don't, and there's a lot of people who just say they try and they say, oh, that 10,000 hours is too much for me, I don't want to put in the work, or it's not for me. And that's okay too. You just have to know what you're passionate about and what you love to do, and if comics is it, then that's what it takes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Omar. Yeah, this was fun.